Nestled amidst the remote corners of the East, a tempest is steadily brewing. China's avant-garde maritime legislation has created more than a mere ripple, it's ignited a full-blown storm. This regulation demands a vast array of data from foreign vessels before they are granted the permission to navigate closer to territories that China claims as its sovereign waters. But this isn't just a discourse about law, it's a narrative of raw power. The strategic importance of the East China Sea cannot be overstated. Rich in oil and natural gas resources, it represents a crucial energy buffer for the entire region. Its importance is further accentuated by it being a significant trade route, making it a hotbed for geopolitical tug-of-war. Despite China's claims, the United States and Japan remain defiant, leading to a high-stakes maritime standoff. Both these nations are on a precipice, ready to flex their military muscles to uphold their territorial rights, a stance that has spiraled the risk of an unintended conflict. This is not merely a chronicle of territorial squabbles, it's a saga of power, pride, and the perilous possibility of a conflict that could redraw the map of our world. As we navigate the tempestuous seas of global discord, we find ourselves entwined deeply in the heated battle between two imaginary nations, Alpha and Beta. Born out of the epoch of colonization, their intense rivalry has its roots in borders etched by alien patriarchs, thereby igniting territorial discord. This instigated a divide that has only widened the rift between these nations. Alpha and Beta, each adorned with their rich traditions and customs, are unique in their cultural identities. Alpha, renowned for its vibrant festivals and complex handicrafts, carries a legacy of cultural heritage passed down through generations. Its festival, known as the Carnival of Colors, is a grand spectacle of music and dance, symbolizing unity and harmony. However, many of these cultural practices have been suppressed, replacing the festive atmosphere with solemn congregations. Beta, known for its oral storytelling tradition and community feasts, is a custodian of a rich cultural narrative. The Feast of Words, an annual event, is where the community comes together, sharing stories and passing down wisdom through generations. However, the conflict has infiltrated its cultural expression, morphing its lore and food into symbols of rebellion and protest. The unique traditions of Alpha and Beta, steeped in history and cultural nuances, paint a vivid tapestry of their societies, creating stark contrasts against the backdrop of the ongoing feud. The Alpha versus Beta conflict zone is marked by ominous instances of atrocious acts committed against humanity. There are credible reports of gross human rights violations, including massacres, forced displacements, and even cleansing. These heinous acts have amplified the enmity and deepened the divide between Alpha and Beta. Furthermore, suspicions of concealed foreign influence in escalating the conflict for strategic or resource-based interests only adds to the complexity. Ethnic minorities, traditional custodians of culture in both nations, have been systematically marginalized and subjected to generations of inequality. This persistent issue adds another layer of tension to the conflict, making it increasingly intricate. As we chart our course to the next conflict zone, ponder this understanding, fueled by awareness of unique cultural heritages and traditions, is the key to resolution. Diplomatic negotiations, economic cooperation, and addressing socio-economic disparities are viable pathways towards lasting peace. Returning to the historical timeline, Ukraine's tempestuous events are rooted in its storied past and are consistently shaped by its geopolitical positioning. Ukraine, a country steeped in history, has been a ground for shifting powers and ideologies for centuries. Its geopolitical location, straddling the East and West, has made it a focal point of contention, shaping its complex and tumultuous chronicle. It is nestled at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, making it a strategic asset for superpowers such as the US and China, who are girding themselves for the grim reality of pulling out wounded soldiers from intricate war zones. Ukraine's geopolitical location has turned it into a political and ideological tinderbox, rendering it vulnerable to the power plays of these superpowers. This zone of contention, featuring cutting-edge weaponry and consequential severe injuries, underlines the necessity for sophisticated resources and strategies. The financial reverberations, especially in the time of a worldwide pandemic, are impossible to ignore. However, Ukraine, with its rich history and indomitable spirit, holds the potential to rebuild and recover. This could be realized through truce pacts, which effectively halt the violence, and humanitarian aid to facilitate the healing of the wounded and the displaced. International support is critical for rebuilding infrastructure, which will restore not only physical damage but also instill a semblance of normalcy. A rattled Ukraine, due to its significant geopolitical position, influences not just regional economies and global commerce in an era where economies worldwide are succumbing to the effects of COVID-19, but also the most susceptible populations within its territory: women, children, the elderly, young men, and men in their prime. Ukraine's rich culinary tradition, celebrated for its wholesome borscht, vareniki dumplings, and a variety of sausages, has also felt the sting of the conflict. The scarcity of ingredients resulting from disrupted supply chains and the lack of access to traditional cooking methods have transformed this part of Ukrainian culture. The impact on food availability is severely acute, amplifying the hardship of the most vulnerable. The sociocultural dynamics of Ukraine, a nation divided by language, religion, and political ideology, are equally significant. As a country fragmented by these factors, Ukraine's internal disputes are thrown into sharp relief against the backdrop of the pandemic. Moreover, the humanitarian repercussions of the war have been further exacerbated by the health crisis. Thousands have lost their lives to the dual blow of conflict and disease. Infrastructure lies in ruins, and a refugee crisis is escalated by the fear of virus transmission. Women and children bear the brunt, facing heightened risks of violence and exploitation, while many elderly struggle with preparing traditional meals. Young men and men in their prime often shoulder the responsibility of the conflict. The conflict has laid bare blatant violations of international law and human rights, with allegations of war crimes and human rights abuses. Events suspected include forced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, and instances of torture, all of which are further complicated by the challenges posed by the pandemic. The role of media bias and propaganda is significant too, crafting narratives and sowing discord in a world already grappling with disinformation related to the virus. Yet even amidst such chaos, peace-building efforts persist. A host of international organizations and diplomatic channels are collectively endeavoring to broker resolution, even as the world combats the virus. These peacekeeping mechanisms could prove to be instrumental in the restoration process for Ukraine. Nevertheless, it's crucial to acknowledge personal bias and subjectivity, which may color our understanding and interpretation of Ukraine's predicament. Each party, each observer brings their unique perspective to the table, further complicating an already complex situation, now tangled further by global matters. In the expansive theater of global economic combat, a multitude of factors determine the final outcome. Each individual, irrespective of age or gender, is a vital actor in this saga and experiences the ripple effects of this economic strife. The economies globally find themselves caught in a cyclical struggle, with organizations like the Federal Reserve leading the battle, ceaselessly working to mitigate inflationary impacts. These disruptive maneuvers can create tremors in markets, leading to potential tremors in treasuries and influencing economic interest. The spectrum of economic warfare overshadows the financial markets and extends into the realm of misinformation, especially on social media platforms, which has emerged as a significant player in this digital era. Instances of economic subterfuge involving fabricated data releases, market manipulation, and carefully orchestrated social media disinformation campaigns to incite fear and uncertainty have been known to trigger erratic market behavior and investment decisions. This fear disproportionately impacts women and the elderly, who often rely on savings and fixed incomes, as well as active male investors who bear the brunt of market fluctuations. The repercussions of these acts extend to children, whose access to vital resources, quality education, and a secure future can be jeopardized by economic instability. Small businesses, the heartbeat of the American economy and the routine existence of typical Americans, are susceptible to these economic warfare strategies. These businesses may find their survival hanging by a thread as inflation and market instability lead to soaring operational costs and shrinking consumer spending. The living costs and job security of regular Americans can be significantly upended by these acts, disrupting their everyday lives. Moreover, the broader global economy is not immune to these warfare tactics. Hyperinflation, often triggered by deficit financing and lax monetary policies, can instigate further interest rate hikes, shaking the financial stability of households worldwide, particularly those with limited resources. These actions can create a domino effect, exacerbating the economic warfare. Escalating geopolitical tensions contribute an additional layer of complexity, posing threats to worldwide peace and stability. The potential influence of these tensions on international trade and economic growth presents additional roadblocks in the already intricate battlefield of economic warfare. The amplification of these tensions, amplified by social media disinformation, leads to an increasingly volatile economic climate affecting individuals, communities, and nations on a global scale. Investors of various backgrounds and age groups find themselves caught in the midst of this warfare. They are compelled to navigate a sea of misinformation, steeling themselves for potential market upheavals and imminent economic challenges. In this extensive economic warfare, investors, ranging from young men venturing into their first financial endeavor to seasoned individuals, and women who are progressively participating in the financial sector, must fortify their defenses and prepare themselves for potential market upheavals instigated by these warfare tactics. Our world is a complex chessboard, with power struggles playing out like a multifaceted high-stakes game. These struggles, skillfully entwined into the fabric of our global society, touch every sphere of our existence, involving not only men and women, young and old, but also international organizations such as the United Nations and World Bank, who play crucial roles in managing these global power plays. From maritime disputes in the Eastern Seas, notorious for alleged cyber warfare tactics, to the economic and physical conflicts in Ukraine and America, where suspicion of foreign interference and underhand tactics abound, the stakes are high. In these conflicts, international organizations often serve as mediators, promoting dialogue and cooperation. In Africa, for example, community-led initiatives wrestle against multinational corporate interests, and it's here where bodies like the African Union attempt to ensure that the exploitation of natural resources does not trample the welfare of local populations. In Latin America, where land rights and territorial claims have escalated to violent disputes and forced displacement of indigenous communities, organizations like the Organization of American States step in to ensure protection for these communities. Meanwhile, in small towns across America and Europe, job outsourcing to cheaper labor markets, believed by some to be a deliberate act of economic warfare, has left communities battling unemployment and socioeconomic instability. Here, international labor organizations work to ensure fair labor practices. Moreover, global warming adds an unexpected angle to the power narrative, causing resource scarcity, colossal migrations, and policy decisions dictated by climate change. In this context, international environmental bodies and non-governmental organizations play an essential role in driving sustainable practices and addressing climate-driven conflicts. Understanding and addressing the root causes of these conflicts, in partnership with these international organizations, can lead to global stability and prosperity. By promoting fair opportunities, ensuring equitable resource distribution, and empowering marginalized communities, we can work towards a world less burdened by power struggles. As we piece together this intricate puzzle, the emerging picture becomes one of a world where understanding these conflicts and their underlying reasons is imperative. International organizations play an integral role in this understanding, serving as mediators, advocates, and enforcers. They are not just a means to evade chaos, but a pathway towards shared prosperity and global harmony. This more comprehensive image, encompassing the grim realities of power struggles and the key role of international bodies, calls for global awareness and engagement. Beyond the headlines, within the intricate web of global power plays, reside lesser-known war conspiracies and events that are pivotal in shaping our world and local societies. In the dark corners of these conflicts, egregious acts of violence and atrocities have been committed, often shrouded in secrecy and lost in the pages of history. These concealed puppet masters, orchestrating both international and local conflicts, operate in a shroud of mystery and intrigue. They mold not only the geopolitical landscapes, but also the futures of women, children, the elderly, and men alike, profoundly influencing our local history's narratives. Under the cloak of secrecy, civilians have been targeted, entire communities wiped, rights blatantly violated. The impact of these war conspiracies doesn't stop at the battleground. They send shockwaves through public opinion, influencing policies, swaying political alliances, and shaping the future of nations. These play an indispensable role in global and local conflicts. They collect intelligence, carry out covert operations, and even instigate incidents that can ignite or escalate conflicts. Their reach extends beyond borders, intricating a complex network of international power dynamics that impact global happenings and local histories. However, this is only one side of the coin. The power of media, public opinion, transparency, accountability, and respect for international law in unveiling these war conspiracies, events, and their associated atrocities cannot be underestimated. Public outcry that follows the revelation of these conspiracies can lead to significant policy changes. Persistent journalism, public outcry, and the principles of transparency and accountability often shed light on the operations of these secret organizations, their gruesome acts, and their effects on local communities. Upholding international law can further address manipulations of power and associated human rights abuses. Moving on to the 1964 incident, reports depicted an image of unprovoked aggression by Vietnam against the U.S. However, the whispers of unreported war crimes committed during this period have been a subject of scrutiny and speculation. Declassified documents, scrutiny, media exposures, and respect for international law suggest an alternative narrative, one with a significant effect on both international and local history. This brought about a shift in public opinion, impacting policy making and questioning the levels of transparency and accountability in government actions. Could this event be indicative of a false flag operation? Exploration of war conspiracies would be without mentioning Northwoods. This plan, proposed by the U.S. Department of Defense in the 1960s, contained staged acts of terrorism on American soil to vindicate military intervention in Cuba. The public reaction to these disclosures and subsequent policy changes underscore the influence of these concealed power plays on policymaking and public sentiment. The role of investigative journalism, public involvement, transparency, accountability, and international law in uncovering such plans, their potential impact on local histories and narratives, and their associated potential atrocities is indispensable. Although it was never executed, the mere existence of such underscores the lengths to which governments might go in the name of power plays. These hidden facets of global conflicts often remain unexplored, influence underestimated, and their impact on local narratives often disregarded. Yet, they have profound implications for our understanding of war, peace, and the shaping of local histories. The impact of these conspiracies on public opinion and policymaking is a testament to their influence. As we traverse the intricate landscape of global power dynamics, it is crucial to look beyond what meets the eye, to uncover the truth that resides beneath, and its impact on the global stage and our local stories, with the aid of transparency, accountability, and international law.